What's up guys, Woody here, back with another Mythgard video, and it's another new to Mythgard video this time, and today we are talking about powers. Now our previous video on New to Mythgard series was about paths, and it wasn't necessarily the most kind of, not so much in-depth, but it was more kind of going through the paths, because a lot of people in my streams, when I'm streaming, come into chat and say, oh, I'm never 100% sure on what paths to play with my deck. So it's kind of just an overview and going through some basic decision making that can help you with the pathways. Now, the follow-on we're doing from that is powers, because this is the other question I get asked a lot, is I never know what powers to add into a deck. Now, this is a hard, not so much a harder question to answer, but in terms of pathways, in terms of something like Rainbow's End or Fires of Creation are very much set for an enchantment deck or an artifact deck. But then with that enchantment deck or artifact deck, there's maybe 3 or 4 different powers you can run. So I'm going to go through some basic stats or ideas you should be taking into consideration when thinking about or looking at what power to include with your deck. Now this all comes from experience. I've played multiple types of decks, all running the different powers. I have favourite ones that I kind of tend to lean towards. Maybe they're not the best ones for the deck, but especially how I aim to play the game, they come across for me as the best ones. And that's kind of what I'm going to be sharing with you here. We're looking to try and get like a 25 minute video down where I can go through the powers and just kind of explain when you're deck building, which is our next New to Mythgard video, what powers you want to be kind of leaning towards depending on your archetype or your outcome aim of your deck. But anyway, enough of the old mumbo jumbo stuff. I will say quickly, this is also on the Team Rankstar YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to Team Rankstar, then there's a link in the description below to their YouTube channel. Obviously you're watching this on WhatsUpWoody. Maybe you're watching it on Team Rankstar, then hello, welcome guys to Team Rankstar. It's also available on the WhatsUpWoody YouTube channel. And yeah, I do various other videos over there. But the Team Rankstar YouTube channel has Mythgard, Eternal. I mean, I can't imagine it's too long until Legends of Runeterra is up there. But yeah, there's a host of CCG stuff, whereas the WhatsUpWoody channel is just Mythgard. Simple as that. Anyway, enough mumbo jumbo, as I said. Let's jump into it. We're going to start from the bottom and we're going to build our way up through the list. So we're going to kick off with the one that most people start with. You unlock it at the very beginning, and that is Smite. So Smite, guys, is quite simple. All powers now cost, all powers but one cost 2 mana, one of them costs 3 mana. We'll get to that one in a minute. So, once per turn, deal 2 damage to your opponent. If they have more life than you, deal 1 otherwise. Okay, so basically, if you both have the equal life, it's important to note here, if you're both on 25 life, you only do 1 damage. It's only when maybe you're on 25, they're on 26, you do the 2 damage. Which is where you want to really be thinking about why Smite is useful. Now, a lot of people play Smite in an aggro deck, which I can get why, because you're getting a chip damage each time. I've also seen people play it in a control deck, because in control decks, you can stall players out. You can get towards a late game where you have lots of excess mana each turn. I say lots, maybe 2 to 3 excess mana every turn, meaning that you can chip damage by 1 every time. Also in control decks, what can often happen is you can deplete your health quite quickly. You can go down to maybe 10 health. They can be on 20 health. So you're getting the full value of Smite. Now, there is no set deck I would recommend Smite for in terms of, I wouldn't say it's best in aggro, I wouldn't say it's best in control. It's kind of a bit of an all-round. Why you really want to be thinking about Smite is, are you going to be playing from behind? That's where you're going to get the full value from it. If you're only getting the 1 damage to the face of Smite, then I personally, I believe there's a better power out there, which we'll get to in a minute. But Smite is good, like I said, if you are playing from behind. This is where I feel like not necessarily the best place to see it. Where I've seen it used to its most efficient is in reanimate decks. Now, reanimate decks where you put a big unit in the graveyard, you pull the big unit out around about turn 3, turn 4, maybe turn 5, and you got a 12/12 living mounting on the board, turn 4. Now, the reason it's good in reanimate decks is they're quite slow. Reanimate decks can be slow to get going, but then the mid game can be bonkers crazy strong. Now, because they're slow to get going, you're often playing from behind, and the way reanimate decks work with the Disc of Sakardia is you have to pop the ability to be able to flip the disc. Now, popping the ability when you're already behind means you're flipping the disc, so you're potentially getting the Slayer or you're getting the Dividation, but you're also getting 2 damage on your opponent. And that's where I personally feel Smite is at its most useful, is in something like a Reanimate deck. Like I said, you could argue that in a control deck where you're maybe slow, maybe you don't get going until turn 4, turn 5, maybe you're just playing cards to stall someone out to then get to turn 4, turn 5 and start playing, start actually getting your deck going. There's an argument to say Smite's pretty good for that, because you're going to be getting the value off the card. But are you going to be playing the power over cards? That's how you have to weigh the stuff up, okay? But yeah, in terms of aggro, it's fine. If you have the ability to do 1 damage to an opponent every time, it's not the end of the world. But you got to remember, with aggro decks, normally you're always ahead on life. So having the ability to actually do 2 damage, unless you're in a mirror matchup with aggro, is going to be very minimal. You're mostly only going to be getting 1 chip damage or Smite rather than the 2. Next, move on to Mend, guys. Now, Mend is a power I don't see played tons, and I feel like there's definitely a place for Mend. So, once per turn, heal all your minions by 1 and gain 1 life. Now, Mend, I've run Mend most commonly in very slow, sustainable control decks. Decks where I'm really looking to grind players out. This match is not going to be less than 15-20 minutes. Like, I'm stalling them out. Even if they're playing aggro, I'm stalling them out. I'm slowly winning. The reason I play Mend is I combine it with something like Turn of Seasons. Meaning that Spring, gain 1 life. If I pop these at the same time, Summer and Mend, if I pop them on the same turn, means that all my minions are now healed by 2. So if I'm playing a very slow, long game, my mid to late game is going to have 3 3s, 4 4s, 5 5s, 6 6s, maybe even 7 7s on the board. Being able to heal those minions by 2 every 4 turns could be huge for sustainability. And in a control deck that is looking to grind someone out, sustainability is massive. If I can keep a 7-7 on the board and force them to use a Crimson Pact to take 7 damage, force them to use something big to remove that 1 minion because they can't chip away at it because of Mend, because of Turn of Seasons, then that's playing into my game plan, okay? This is not an aggro card, guys. I've seen people use it in aggro decks purely to try and get the 1 life back to you. Remember, a lot of aggro decks, especially Red Rush, have cards with life tap, meaning you gain the life back that you do damage to the face. Mend is just a mediocre power in that deck. It is the only time I've ever got best value from it, like I said, is when I'm playing, examples being when I'm playing green yellow, like very slow green yellow, yellow blue. I've used it in a few times. I think they're the only 2 combinations. Yellow blue is the most common one I used it in, and it was a case of just really grinding and slowing them out. You can also have an argument saying that with Turn of Seasons or with Mend, say you drop a Cataclysm on the board when you've got no minions on your side, they've got minions also on their side. You're taking the 5 face damage, but then off the back of Mend and Turn of Seasons, you're only taking 3 face damage, where you're potentially board clearing their side and you're doing 5 damage to the face. Same as if you have some 6/6s on the board, you're then healing them for 2 off the back of Cataclysm. That's kind of the only time I personally feel like Mend has a place in the deck. But do remember, you do gain 1 life of it as well, so that can always be handy. Next up, Reconstruct, one of the more unique powers in the deck and one of the more linear powers in the deck, in my opinion. So it's the only one that costs 3 mana. And once per turn, banish the bottom card of your Boneyard and create a 1/1 Cobblejack in one of your lanes. Now remember, Cobblejacks are ephemeral, meaning that it can bump back to hand by dead, and Cobblejacks are 2 mana cards. That doesn't mean tons at the moment, but the reason I say that is, in expansions, it's worth to remember that there's no doubt probably going to be some cards that will be something like buff cards that are 2 mana or less, or free, so it does come out with a mana cost of 2. Now, personally, I've only played this power in one type of deck, and that is enchantment decks. The only reason I find this is good in enchantment decks is a lot of enchantments have while occupied at the beginning of your turn, blah, 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 do something, okay? Meaning I can't play a minion, I have minion hands, there's nothing I want to commit. I can just throw a Cobblejack down, okay? It's a 1/1 on the board. They want to remove it, they're playing into a 1/1, it's fine, okay? Now, this isn't so good in green decks. Now, let me explain why it's not great in green decks. Because you don't have control over what card you're burning. It's always the bottom card. So let's say your bottom card is Traitorous Murmur, and you've got Bald Mountain on the board. You want to make sure you're using Bald Mountain to pull the Murmur back rather than burning the Murmur, because it banishes the card. And also Wake the Bones. So all those are cards that allow you to pull cards from your boneyard. So it's not bad in green, but you just need to be mindful that you are going to banish the bottom card from your graveyard. So any cards that have tutoring through your graveyard, or any decks that have tutoring through your graveyard, you're going to have to make sure you're looking at what you're playing, what you're banishing before you pop the Reconstruct. It is 3 mana, so it is quite expensive. You're effectively playing 3 mana for a 1/1 on the board. So it's, personally, I feel like it's a little bit too expensive. I don't know why it's a 1/1 or why it's a 3 mana over 2. I know you're getting a minion on the board which is effectively blocking face damage, and it's potentially playing into combo, so I can see why they'd make it a free cost card. But honestly, outside of enchantment decks with something like Rainbow's End, I don't see how this card gets huge amounts of value, in my opinion. Maybe if you're running a yellow deck where you're running Alarma's Ring, all of a sudden these don't come out at 1/1, they come out at 2/2. You've got 2 Alarma's Ring down, they come out at 3/3. So there's an argument to say that they're okay in yellow decks. I would still only really run Reconstruct myself in an enchantment-based deck. Next up, Infuse. Now, I said at the beginning, well, when we were talking about Smite, that there was another card, another power that I would recommend potentially over Smite in an aggro deck, and that is Infuse. So Infuse costs you 2 mana. Once per turn, give a minion +1/+0 until the end of the turn, meaning they gain 1 extra attack power, not 1 health. So the reason I would recommend Infuse over Smite in an aggro deck is, as we said, Red Rush does run not a lot, but has life tap in there, running in there. Not every single one, but normally has life tap in there. You also, if your Smite is only going out for 1 damage per turn anyway in an aggro deck, because you're running ahead of them on life total, then Infuse is better, because if you're running rush cards, you can pop Infuse onto it. You'd get the exact same value you're getting off Smite anyway. The reason Infuse stands out just above is it gives you the versatility against board clear as well. Smite only goes to the face damage. Infuse, let's say you got a pup on the board at 2/1. They drop down a Feign, which is a 2/3. When Feign kills a minion, it fully heals. A Feign against a pup is very infuriating, very frustrating. It's going to really piss you off. Wait a minute, you just drop the Infuse on the pup. You now get the free life tap back from Feign, and you also remove Feign. If you're running something like Smite, the pup's going to die and Fein's going to stay on the board. And against a Red Rush aggro deck, Feign can be not devastating, but extremely punishing if it's not dealt with early on. So that's why, in my opinion, Infuse. Infuse is also great in mid-range decks. It's also good in control decks, but mid-range decks, it's very good as well. If you got a breach chance on a minion, and you pop Infuse on it, then you obviously getting 1 extra damage to the face. It's also great at removing minions. Now, it's really important to remember it's until the end of your turn. I've seen people pop Infuse onto cards expecting it to carry on over to the start of your next turn. So when you're defending, it will have +1 attack. That's not the way Infuse works, guys. It is only during your turn. So a lot of people look at this and go, it's quite aggressive. It is aggressive, but it's also great at board clear. It's great at controlling the board. You have a 4/4 on the board. They have a 4/5 on the board. At the moment you trade into their 4/5, their 4/5 turns into a 4/1. You've lost a board presence. You pop Infuse onto it, you both trade, you've got rid of one of their big units for a card that probably cost less mana than theirs did. So you got a good trade there, all because of the Infuse power. So Infuse it's very versatile. It's great at dealing with minions. It's also very good on Overrun. Overrun minions. So if you are trying to put pressure on, if you're trying to dictate the board, Overrun, for those who don't know, is like Trample in Magic the Gathering, meaning that any damage that isn't blocked by the minion, or the minion can't take, negates over, or can't negate, goes over, mitigates it. I can't remember what it is now. I think it's any can't negate goes over to do face damage. So let's say you got You got a 9/9 swinging at a 2/2. The minion will take 2 damage, and then 7 extra damage will go over. You pop Infuse onto it, now 8 extra damage is going over. It's great for a niche point here. It's great at dealing with artifacts. So let's say you got an artifact on the board and you want it, you're going to swing, but it's going to save by 1 health. Infuse with Overrun will allow it to remove the artifact. So it's a pretty versatile power. I wouldn't say it's the most versatile power, because I'll get onto that one in a minute, but it's definitely a pretty versatile power. Add it with anything with life tap, then it's really cool. Really cool. Next up, guys, we are going to Impel. Now, Impel is my personal go-to power for most decks. Costs 2 mana. Once per turn, give a friendly minion a free move action. What that means is it's basically Swift, okay, for 1 turn. So Swift basically allows you to play a card. You can move that card straight away, or after the summoning sickness is worn off next turn, you can move the card and swing with it in the same turn. We're unable to connect servers, that's so we can get back in now. So you're able to move it and swing at a minion in the same turn, which is awesome. It's cool. It's great. So it's I love it in many decks. It's also extremely good in teleport. So if you're running anything with teleport, it's very good. You get a free move action. You can teleport across to an open lane, and it's a complete free move action. 1 second, guys. I'm going to try and deal with this, and I'll get back to you in 2 seconds. Sorry about that, guys. For some reason, my internet decided to cut out of nowhere. But anyway, we're back now. So as I was talking about, Impel. So Impel is my go-to card. Okay, I love running it with cards like Shinobi of Wind. Okay, so Shinobi of Wind, discard here. Stealth teleport, meaning that they can go to anywhere on the board. Breach, deal 2 damage to anyone. So I, for example, will play Impel on Shinobi of the Wind. They'll move to any lane where I know I can get the Breach ability off. And because it's a free move action, they can still... It's not a free move action. You're paying 2 mana for the move action. They can still swing to the face on the same turn they move if you use Impel. So they move anywhere, then trade to the face. I then use a 2 damage to then they may be board clear. So it's very good in mid-range decks. I wouldn't say it's great in a control deck because it's not strict control because there are limitations, conditions to it. But as a mid-range deck, we're running purple. Impel with something like Shinobi the Wind is crazy good, like seriously good. And it's part of the reason why I love running it. I run a lot of purple splash in a lot of my decks. And it's definitely a power I'd recommend if that's what you're looking for. And it's also very good just at defending. Let's say they've got lethal next turn with a swing to the face. You can't play a minion, but you've got a big minion on the board that is going to maybe make them trade into it twice. So you can impel that minion over, so it's blocking another minion now. They might have to trade into it twice. All of a sudden now you've maybe got control of the board. So it's a very, very good power. I would argue it's potentially the most versatile power in the game. I think it's super good. It can be aggressive, it can be defensive, it can be control heavy. It can be so much stuff. Okay, I really like the power. And the final one is Foresight. Now, Foresight is one that a lot of people look over, and I've often seen it included in decks where I wouldn't necessarily include it. So, Divination, I've said this many times on stream, is one of the most powerful mechanics in this game. There's only one card, an artifact, that allows you to tutor. By tutoring, I mean allows you to look through the deck for a set card and pull it in your hand. But so you spend 2 mana, once per turn, look at the top 3 cards of another player's deck or divination to your own. So you can look at your opponent's deck and see what they're drawing into. Knowledge is always good. Or you can divination your top 2, meaning you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose which one you're drawing next, okay? Remember, the one you don't choose doesn't go back on the top, it goes back into your deck somewhere, randomly back into your deck, okay? So, Foresight's great. The issue people have with running Foresight is they run it with, the first time I see it is see it ran in Reanimate decks. Now, Reanimate decks always run Discus Arcadia. Now, if you look at Night, as soon as you turn to Night, we get to Divination too. So, you can't double Divination. It doesn't work like that. You're always looking at the same 2 cards and choosing which one goes on top. It's just not the way it really works. So, Divination 2 is a bit of a waste anyway. So, having it Foresight with Discus Arcadia means you're only actually getting to use the mechanic 50% of the time, which isn't isn't great. Like, you're spending mana, but you're not always getting to use it because you get the Divination 2 off this anyway. So I wouldn't use it in reanimate decks for that one set reason. Let's go back to the actual power I was running. Other times are when I see people running cards that is it. I can't remember their name now. Oh my god! So I don't know what's going on here with the internet, but anyway, Gamiyan is another card that is a green card, and Gamiyan is a card that when you play it, you get to Divination 2. You look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Serendipity Ifrit is another card when you play it, you get to Divination 3. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If you're running lots of cards that have got Divination on them as a mechanic, if you're running lots of cards that have got Divination as an ability, then you're not going to get the full value of them. Let's see if I can find the card I was on about with Gamiyan. Here you go. Gamiyan, okay? So Gamiyan Agile Divination 2. And its ability, I can swing and Divination 2 at the same time. Well, if I'm getting a free Divination anyway, why would I spend the 2 mana that I have left over at the end of my turn to Divination again? I wouldn't. I'd be better to maybe, because it's Agile, put Impel on this to make it a 5/4, swing 5 to the face. Or maybe put Impel on it, Infuse on it to make it 5/4, Impel on it to move it across a row to make sure I can get the Agile swing to the face. So that's just an example of where I see Divination used or Foresight used incorrectly. Is I would only use Foresight in decks that struggle with consistency, but don't have cards that give Divination. Yellow doesn't have much Divination, so if you're running mono yellow, it's probably a perfectly good power to run, because I can't think off the top of my head any cards that will allow you just to look through the top cards of your deck and choose which one you draw next. Blue doesn't have a ton of Divination. Green has quite a lot. Orange has some as well. Purple has got a little bit, but like blue yellow, it's not a bad power in blue yellow, because that isn't a ton of cards, like I said, that allow you to look for a set card and try and make sure you're getting it in your hand, or at least setting up from mid to late game using Foresight. But anyway, guys, that is kind of going through all the powers. I want to keep it as short as I possibly could, but hopefully it's been informative. Hopefully it's helped you guys out. As I should say this at the beginning, but you should be able to guess from the title of the video. These videos are very much aimed at new players. So if you're an experienced player of Mythgard, 200 hours in the game, and you're like, well, I haven't learned anything from this. I'm sorry, these aren't aimed at you guys. These are aimed for people who are new to the game, who are like, well, I want to get into deck building, I want to get into game more, but I don't understand these powers, I don't understand how they work. Hopefully this has helped you out some way. Hopefully this has helped you make a decision on what power you want to put into your deck. But the great thing about Mythgard, and I genuinely mean this, is building a deck is one thing. Choosing the right pathway and power combination to go in that deck is a whole nother ball game. And I recommend play around the powers. Just because you think, all right, I'm running an aggro deck with life tap, Infuse is definitely going to be right here, so I can get an extra damage to the face, I can get extra bit of life tap. Maybe it doesn't work in your deck. Maybe it feels clunky. Maybe Impel actually feels nicer to get the breach abilities off, or maybe to get the defense abilities off. Maybe for some reason Foresight feels good. Maybe you're struggling with mid game and you're thinking, well, actually I need to make sure I'm drawing the right cards, or at least searching for the right cards on this, like on my mid game. Maybe that's what you find. There is no right or wrong answer. It's how you feel that the power and pathway sit in your deck, and if it feels to the play style that you want to play that deck too. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for watching the video. I love doing these new to Mythgard videos. I get really nice feedback on them, which makes me very happy, because if I'm helping new players get into a game, into this great game, then I'm super happy with that. Okay, guys, so thank you again so much if you have been watching these series, and let me know if you do like them just by hitting that thumbs up, because it makes me happy, and also it pushes me on to make more of them. Next video we're going to be looking at is deck building. It's going to be a bit of a longer video, probably sat around the 40-minute mark, but it's going to be a deep dive into deck building. My process I go through when I deck build, how I choose pathways, how I choose powers, and everything like that. Okay, so how I put paper ideas into game ideas, into deck building ideas, to try and hopefully encourage some people to go and deck build a little bit more themselves rather than just taking decks off the internet. There's nothing wrong with net decking every now and then, but it's always nice when you can climb a ladder with a deck you have built yourself. But anyway, guys, thank you once again. As I said at the beginning, this video is available on Team Rankstar's YouTube channel. If you want to check them out, link is in the description below, guys. And also, if you just want to check out Team Rankstar's Mythgard articles, I recommend you do, because there's always, every week, there's a host of really cool articles going up over there, along with tons of other CCG content. Link to the website is in the description below, guys. If you want to stop by and see me like playing some Mythgard over on Twitch, I stream 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Then the link to my channel is in below. Or finally, if you want to join the Club Tropicana Discord, we chat about kind of anything. There is a Mythgard channel there. There's a Destiny 2 channel there. There's a Rugby World Cup channel there. There's everything there, okay? We just chat nonsense. It's a nice place to meet up with other Mythgard players and share your ideas, or maybe even play some 2v2 with them. But yes, guys, you can check that out. Link is also in the description below. But anyway, until next time, guys, have a great day, morning, evening, whatever it is, where you guys are. And until then, goodbye.